When he was a kid, he went to a boarding school in the suburbs starting in 8th grade. His roommate, Weston, was a quiet, strange kid. Welcome to Room 13, where every story hides a secret, a place where the unknown comes to life, and the eerie is all too real. Here, we uncover the chilling tales that lurk in the shadows. At first, they weren't close, just thrown together like everyone else. The room was basic. 2 beds, 2 desks, and a tiny shared closet. After a few weeks, Weston handed him a list. It was a list of items he wasn't allowed to bring back to the room, completely out of the blue. One item on the list was frogs, something he never intended to bring to the room. But the strangest thing was salt. Why was Weston so serious about it? He couldn't figure it out. Salt wasn't food, and no food was allowed in the dorms. It was bizarre, especially given how serious Weston was about it. But Weston didn't joke, and he never explained. He also muttered to himself late at night, whispering as if talking to someone invisible. He got used to it, but it was unsettling. Weston kept a notebook under his mattress, something he guarded carefully. Eventually, curiosity got the better of him, and when Weston was out of the room, he looked through it. It was a list of names, some crossed out, some not. He recognized a few of them, kids from school. To his horror, his name was on the list. It wasn't crossed out. He couldn't understand it. Was Weston keeping track of people he didn't like, or was there something more to it? After that, he felt paranoid. Weston started looking at him strangely, and the atmosphere in the room grew tense. He spent more and more time away from the room, staying with friends. But one night, his worst fears came to life. He woke up in the dark. At first, he thought it was just Weston muttering, but when his eyes adjusted, he saw Weston standing over his bed, smiling. His hands were raised like he was about to do something but froze mid-motion. The smile never wavered. When he screamed, Weston didn't flinch. He simply said, "You were talking in your sleep." It didn't make sense. Why was he standing there? Weston climbed back into bed without another word. The next day, Weston acted like nothing had happened, as if the entire incident was a figment of his imagination. But the fear didn't leave. The atmosphere in the room was heavier than ever. A few nights later, he returned to his room to find a garden snake on his bed. Weston was sitting at his desk, looking blankly at him. He apologized, saying it was a harmless prank, but he didn't buy it. When he asked where Weston had gotten the snake, Weston simply said, "They're everywhere." That didn't make sense. He'd never seen a snake on campus. The way the snake had slithered into a jar on Weston's desk unnerved him. The next night, things took an even darker turn. He woke up paralyzed. A dark mass hovered above him like a blob or cloud. It descended towards him, and a claw emerged, scratching the bed frame. Before it could reach him, it recoiled and began thrashing around the room. Then, with a violent crash, it flew toward the window and shattered it. When the glass shattered, his eyes snapped open. The window was broken, and glass was falling in real time. He couldn't explain it. Worse, there were scratches on the bed frame where the claw had been. He thought Weston had done it, but Weston was snoring, fast asleep. He shook Weston, but he didn't wake up. He was terrified. What if Weston wasn't behind it? What if the nightmare wasn't a nightmare at all? The next morning, Weston acted as though nothing had happened, accusing him of snooping through his stuff. They argued, and Weston began hissing like a cat before speaking in a foreign language. It wasn't normal. The RA came to the room and escorted both of them out. The next day, Weston's things were gone. He was moved to another room, and when he asked about Weston, the administration simply said he was no longer his concern. Years later, at his grandparents' farm, he spoke to his cousin Francisco about the strange occurrences at the boarding school. Francisco revealed that he had experienced worse. The same figure had visited him at night, but instead of just watching, it touched him. Francisco described rough, scratchy hands that didn't belong to either of their grandparents. Francisco's mother didn't believe him and got angry when he spoke about it. Francisco had stopped talking about it, but hearing him describe the experience confirmed his own terrifying memories. What was more disturbing was the thought that something far more sinister than their grandparents had been in that room. The idea that someone, or something, had been watching and touching them for years sent a chill down his spine. At 34, he still remembers the figure in the window and the question that lingers. If it wasn't their grandparents, who was it? He never wanted to find the answer,